Okay, so today we're diving into something a little different.
Yeah.
Usually we're looking at news articles or blog posts, but this time it's a YouTube channel,
Yeah, Lavu Marye, it's called.
like Lavu Marye, and it's all about India. But what's really interesting is the way they introduce the country, like right off the bat, in their channel intro video.
Exactly. It's not your typical travel guide overview. It's like
Yeah.
they're trying to capture a certain feel.
Yeah, and a listener actually sent this to us. They were curious about what that framing, like what it tells us about India, beyond just the surface level.
Makes sense. I mean, it definitely caught my eye too.
So let's break it down, this Lavu Marye. The first thing they hit you with is this idea of India as a land of contrasts, all about ancient traditions, but also modern-day wonders.
Yeah, that juxtaposition immediately sets a tone. Like, it's not just about seeing old stuff. It's about experiencing this kind of active interplay between the old and the new.
Right, so it's not just like a museum, it's like a living, breathing thing.
Exactly, like you could be walking down a street with centuries-old temples, and then suddenly there's a tech startup right next door, the vibe they're going for.
And that totally connects to their next point, which is that India has something for everyone. Literally, they say, history buff, adventure seeker, foodie, or someone looking to reconnect with your spiritual side.
It's smart, though, because they don't just make that claim. They back it up with specific examples.
Yeah, like for history, they go straight to the Taj Mahal, which everyone knows, right?
Of course, classic landmark then for adventure, they mention the Himalayas, so you've got the mountains covered, and then also the beaches of Goa for a completely different experience.
So they're hitting those big travel motivations right away.
Exactly. And then you've got mouth-watering foods for the foodies, which everyone loves, and they specifically highlight Varanasi and Bodh Gaya for the spiritual seekers.
So they're really painting a broad picture here. And then they get into the geography, which is where it gets really interesting. They start listing all these different regions, the serene backwaters of Kerala,
The majestic Himalayas, obviously we've already talked about those.
bustling streets of Delhi. That's a different feel.
Totally. Then you've got the tranquil beaches of Goa, contrasting with those bustling streets and then hidden gems in Rajasthan. So they're throwing in some mystery, too.
So it's not just like, oh, India is one thing. It's like, India is 100 things.
1,000 things, right? They're really highlighting the diversity of landscapes and experiences you can have within one country.
And it's not just about the places themselves. They talk about discovering iconic landmarks, sure,
Yeah.
but also hidden gems and vibrant festivals. They even mention finding peace at spiritual destinations.
So it's like they're promising a certain depth of exploration. They're not just going to take you to the tourist traps.
Right, and then they drop this line about giving you insider tips, which I thought was interesting. What do you make of that?
It signals that they're aiming for a more authentic local perspective. They're not just regurgitating Lonely Planet. They want to give you the real deal.
Yeah, like they're positioning themselves as more like friends who know the country really well.
Exactly, and that ties into who they're trying to reach because they explicitly say this channel is for both people planning your first trip to India and avid travelers looking to uncover new destinations.
So they're not just catering to newbies. They're trying to offer something new, even if you've been to India before.
Right, which means they need to provide both basic information and also deeper insights.
So to sum it up, it seems like Lavu Marye is presenting India as this incredibly dynamic country full of contrasts, catering to all sorts of interests, and with a crazy amount of geographic diversity.
Absolutely, and they're promising to guide you through it all with a focus on both the iconic and the hidden gems, like a friend who's showing you around their home.
And that brings us to our listener who sent this in. So thinking about all this and what initially intrigued you about this channel, what single aspect of India as presented here really jumps out at you, and what would you personally want to explore further?
That's a great question, and one that I think each listener should consider for themselves because India clearly offers something for everyone.
Exactly, and that's the beauty of it, right?
Oh.
So much to discover.
And Lavu Marye seems like a pretty cool guide to help you along the way.
We'll have to keep an eye on them.
Definitely.